Superman and Lois, episode 10, entitled Mother, Where Art Thou? It's your boy Icon once again. So, in this episode, it picks up where we left off in the last one, where Superman went to go confront Morgan Edge, one-on-one in the desert, which was, which was a very awkward place, but hey, what the hell. So, and we get a big reveal right out the gate. As soon as the episode starts, when Superman and Morgan Edge, they're face to face, we find out that Morgan Edge isn't Morgan Edge that we know from before. He drops the bombshell on Clark. He's just like, Kal-El, you and I are brothers. And then Clark's like, that cannot be. And then he's just like, but it is Kal-El. He was just like, oh, I was the son of some dude whose name I can't remember. He was like, but I was also the son of your mother, our mother. So apparently they're going with the Aquaman story about how Clark's mom, she was basically promised or matched with some other dude. They had a baby together, and then she later, I guess she left that guy, and she chose Jor-El, and she ended up having a baby with Jor-El because she actually was in love with him. So, but from Clark, they hid the fact that he had like a twin. Well, I guess you can't say they hid it because Krypton blew up before he had a chance to actually be grown enough. But he basically never found out. Even his his AI daddy back at the Fortress of Solitude, he told him, he was just like, we didn't think it was important to tell you, Kal-El, and he was just like, it wasn't important to tell me that I had a brother. So apparently, again, like, he's not Morgan Edge. He's actually like Clark's half brother. And the whole time I'm sitting here thinking, I'm just like, yo, where does Supergirl fall? Like, I just need somebody to mention her name just like one time, but, and again, and it could be a crisis thing, the whole thing about Morgan Edge, being like Superman's half brother. So, but, and he told him the story. He said that, he crash landed on this earth, and he was like, unlike you, Kal-El, when you were met with warmth and parents and blah, blah, blah. He was like, I wasn't met with the same. He was like, I was met with rage because his pod crash landed on, he said on the British side, like the British side of, I guess the city, or somewhere in the UK, somewhere in the Great Britain. So we've had Morgan Edge's pod crash land on Earth. We've had Clark's pod crash land. Kara's pod crash landed, and Rain's pod crash landed. Oh, then also, hell, Mon-El's pod crash landed too. So Earth has the worst alien defenses. Like, we need the DEO back. Because like these alien ships are just landing out of nowhere, and like nobody's being able to detect these things. And Morgan Edge even said, he's like, when I grew up, he was just like, I wasn't, like he said, he's like, I wasn't met with warmth. He was like, I was in chains and I was experimented on, but then I busted through and, against my captives, and I killed and murdered them all. And he said that his job was to basically like recreate Krypton and bring his people back, because Superman's mom, his original mom, back on Krypton, she created a device that stored Kryptonian consciousness inside of it. And she was looking for a way to release that consciousness out, like into other beings. But she never got a chance to finish that technology, obviously, because the planet blew up. But Morgan Edge took over his mother's work. That's where that big old crystal thing comes in at, because that's the device that's being used to put the Kryptonian DNA back into, into the bodies of like actual people. So using his mother's technology, like I said, he's able to like, to rebuild Krypton and build a Krypton army. He's obviously trying to get Clark on his side. He's just like, oh, join us, brother. And then he was just like, no. And he's like, you would dare betray your own people. And he was just like, oh, human beings don't deserve. He's like, human beings aren't perfect, but they don't deserve to be erased and replaced from existence. And then he was just like, if you don't stand with us, then you shall fall. And then, the two of them got into a fight or whatever. And then, he was just like, I'll kill everyone you love. And then, he disappeared. And then, then Clark disappeared. He went home to go talk to his family. His family looked at him, was like, yo, get your ass back out there and go look for your half brother. And then that caused the family to think for a little bit, because they were just like, well, damn, that's why Superman turned evil on John Henry Irons' Earth, is because Morgan Edge brought back his Kryptonian family. He even brought back his mom, because they said that his mom was in the chrysalis as well. Even with Kyle, Lana's husband, the government basically had him locked up because of the attack that he did, in the last episode. So now, like, Sarah knows what happens, she knows what happened to her dad. She knows her dad is crazy, like has Kryptonian power in him. Like, Lana's there and everything, and they're trying to figure out, how they can rescue the dad. Like, Sarah's all broken up about it. Jonathan and Jordan, they're at the diner talking to her, basically trying to calm her down and like be there for her. So then while they have Kyle like trapped in the machine, they're like, again, they're just like, they're having conversation, and they're just like, well, we need to know how to reverse the effects of this machine. And one of the scientists said, he was like, yo, I don't know how to reverse the effects because the person who created it is the only person that knows how to reverse the effects. Come to find out, that person is Superman's mother, but they can't have a conversation with her and they can't talk to her. And then Lana decides, she was just like, well, because I'm part of the reason why Morgan Edge did what he did, and I'm the reason why we're in the mess that we're in now. She said, put Clark, well, she didn't call him Clark, she doesn't know he's Superman. She said, put Superman's mother's DNA in me so you guys can talk to her and find out how to reverse the effects of the machine. And then, Lois was just like, oh, don't do it. And then Lana was just like, I have to, because and this was actually jacked up from Lois, because Lois said to her, she was like, oh, don't do this. You have a family to think about. And then Lana was like, bitch, Kyle is part of my family. He's my husband. And I'm just like, yeah, why are we excluding like the husband like he ain't shit? So she was just like, she's like, I'm a ride or die. She's like, he's my family. So she said, if this is the way to save him, I have to take that chance. And then, she actually had a conversation with Superman. She's a little in awe of Superman. And then she told Lois, she was just like, it's different for you because you bump into him all the time. But she was just like, we only hear about him in the news or see him on TV. And she's like, he's standing like right there. And then she walked up to him. The two of them talked. And then he was just like, oh, like you're doing a real good thing, for the people, whatever. He's like, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. And then she's like, did Superman just lie to me? I mean, but if that's what he really believes, that's what he really believes. So they put it through the machine. They put, they ended up putting, Kal-El's mother, like into Lana, and Lana spoke to Clark and everybody, through the mom. And it was dope because the actress that's playing Lana Lane, she did a very good job of portraying like Kal-El's mother with the mannerisms and the way that she talked and everything. And she like, she actually had that whole thing down pat. So that was like that was very dope. So, so after having the conversation with her, the mom was talking to Lois. She was like, oh, how's my son been? And this, that, and the third. They basically said that they were trying to, I guess they were trying to calibrate the machine because their whole thing was they need to calibrate the machine before Morgan Edge calls the Kryptonian army. But, they basically was just like, in order for you to reverse the effects, you have to destroy the chrysalis, because they said if you destroy the chrysalis, then it'll like the blowback from it will wipe out all the Kryptonian DNA in all the people. But they just said that you have to be in a close enough vicinity in order for that blast radius to affect everybody. So Morgan Edge called the troops. The troops went after Superman. Superman took the chrysalis. This big old like super fight, there's this whole super chase scene, flying through the air thing happened. It even got to a point where like all the Kryptonian people tried to use their laser beam, their heat vision at Superman. He used his heat vision back, and it was like his heat vision versus all their heat vision. I was just like, how is he winning? This is like, it's like one versus like 75. And then, and then he said, in the end, he was just like Clark came up with the idea. He said that I have to superheat the chrysalis. He said if I superheat it, that's the only thing powerful enough, because they were just like, oh, there's nothing powerful enough to destroy it. And he was like, yeah, there's me. So he said that if I empty the clip, and I put all my power into the machine, then, into the chrysalis, then it'll explode and it'll cause the blowback. So that's what he did. Like, he superheated that bad boy, he blew it up. And then at that point, Morgan Edge kind of dipped. Like, Morgan Edge knew what was going to happen, so he took off before the whole thing could affect him. But everybody else got affected. The blast radius happened. It knocked the Kryptonian DNA out of everybody's system. The Asian girl was back to normal. Kyle was back to normal. The whole town was back to normal. And all the Kryptonian DNA was gone. Even Clark's mom, like Superman's mom, Kal-El's mom, like, she's gone too. And, that's sad. But, and then after that, Superman kind of like fell out of the sky because the blast radius from that thing was so hard. It drained him of all his power, and it knocked him all the way to the Fortress of Solitude. And then you saw Clark with the chrysalis in hand trying to crawl into the Fortress of Solitude, because I'm pretty sure like there's a device or there's some sort of chamber in there that can regenerate his cells and like, give him his power back, which is why he did it. He'll probably end up in a black suit in the next episode. And then Morgan Edge ended up flying to his redheaded girl, and then when he got there, she was just like, oh, are we the only two that are left? And then he was just like, yeah, but he was just like, we don't have anybody, but Krypton's not gone. And then they showed us this big old mountain looking thing where it looked like he was actually like terraforming the Earth and actually turning the Earth into Krypton itself. Morgan Edge's story, because that was how the episode ended. And like I said, Morgan Edge's story was pretty, it's pretty interesting, because it was like Morgan Edge's whole thing was on some Brightburn shit, where like, his pod crash landed and he killed the two people who found him, him being treated the way he was treated. So like, it definitely gave me like Brightburn vibes, but it was very dope. So that was it. Like I said, and I feel like we have to be getting 13 episodes of this. Like, we're only getting 13 episodes because the way the episodes are happening right now, the way the show is building up, it's not like, this isn't like a 22 long haul journey. This episode, it feels like we're building towards a season finale. Like, it feels like the season finale is like on its way. Obviously, John Henry Irons is going to show up in episode 12 or 13. So yeah, so I'm under the assumption we're only getting 13 episodes of Superman and Lois, but like I said, that's cool because I'm enjoying the ride so far, and I think, you know, it's a good show, and I hope they continue it going forward. So thank you for tuning in. So leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the reveal of Superman having a half brother. You know about the boys having having Uncle Edge. Trying to terraform and destroy the Earth. When are we gonna mention Kara? Like, when does Kara show up, if she shows up at all? And how you think the story plays out going forward. Check me out on social media as always. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram, and check me out on YouTube again with your comments so we can go back and forth about all this superhero talk, in the land of the DC universe. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Until next time, for Superman and Lois, I'm on this.